We kind of touched on this earlier, but how have your expectations of the business changed since going to NYU, Tisch, being a filmmaker, this sort of journey that you've had? How have your expectations of making films and pleasing the audience changed?
The whole process of making films has kind of been what I thought. I know it would always be challenging. I think you have this idea that once, I think anybody in any careers, especially in entertainment, there's never like, I made it. There's always gonna be more challenges. Like you're always scrapping to get your next movie. You always set the bar higher. You don't wanna do more of what you did. So I think the one thing that surprised me that you're always working hard to get your next movie. And the other part that I think is a weird thing that's gotten worse, I think it goes back to the internet. I don't think film critics should be film critics. I think they should be film enthusiasts. And I don't think the setup of the job right now is they feel like they have to critique and say what's wrong. I think we'd all benefit more if it was a film enthusiast and they would look for films that you need to see. Because all the ones that are popular and commercial, honestly, I don't even look at the tomato rating. My movies don't always get reviewed very well. People seem to be, they don't like Adam or they do like Adam. That doesn't help. I look at the audience response, if anything. You know, I'd rather call somebody I know that saw the movie. But I think the audiences leaving theaters saying what they thought is a more accurate gauge if a movie's good. I think it's weird how critics will feel like there's certain movies they have to like and they don't like, and if they weren't critics and they were film enthusiasts, their job would be great because they would list a bunch of movies that we all need to see. Right now, there's probably 10 movies that aren't going to get a whole lot of press, and they're probably really some good ones. And I would rather read an article and like, oh fuck, I'm gonna go see that movie because that filmmaker would never got seen. So I just wish it was more like that. When you go back to it was a Kaiju cinema. It was Truffaut and Godard, the New Wave. They were filmmakers reviewing other movies, and it was much more about embracing what they liked and less about taking pop shots at, you know. If you don't like a movie too, I also think if I was a reviewer, I'd be like, look, if you like action movies that do this, this, and this, you're going to be happy. But I think reviews are generally you know, trying to cut it down, or they just decide, okay, we're going to like this movie and say we like this movie. You know, it's like funny, like when the Waterboy came out, they talked about how sophomoric it was and how there were so many fart jokes, and I was like, there's not a fart joke in the Waterboy. You can say it's sophomoric, that's not your opinion. And at the time, the Farrelly brothers did the Kingpin, and they embraced it, which was a really funny, great movie. But I mean, that one had fisting bulls and like they had full on shit. So it's like it's not an honest, you know, it's not an honest system. So I think there should be film enthusiasts. So when you ask me about the filmmaking, that's one of the things that disappoints me. And yeah, and that you have to always fight to get your next movie or work really hard to get the next one.
Do you think the same way with social media and we're outing people and we're putting our thoughts out there, there's a power in trying to take things down?
There's definitely a negativity that seems to excel. And I don't know how we have to reinvent it, but I guess it starts with each and every person. And, you know, listen, as an artist, that's what I'm going to try to make people, as long as you have integrity, as long as everything goes back to integrity. If you have integrity, you're not going to take a pop shot at somebody and you're going to give a balanced argument, or I don't like this for this reason, but you might like it. You know, if people are more fair, I think we'll be okay. It's that lack of seeing the person's face that you're picking on that the internet does that causes it. You know, Louis C.K. did a whole thing about how he doesn't want his kids to have a phone because when you're a kid, your tendency is to punch a kid in the face, and then the kid starts crying, and then you realize, oh, I feel bad, and then you form empathy. But on a phone, you punch a kid in the face by saying something mean, but you never get that response. So it's that lack of being able to form empathy that's missing with the internet. I don't want to take technology away. I just want us to elevate ourselves to be better people, to be able to handle our toys
Do you think most film critics should have gone to film school? I mean, I'm not sure the background. I haven't done research on
I
what
mean, my
most...
feeling, and I don't want to sound like, I feel like a lot of them went to film school and they just didn't apply themselves to make movies. And so there's a frustration. I'm not everybody. There's some people that just love films but the feeling I get, is that, it's sometimes I'll write back to a film critic in a very, not angry. I'll always be like, oh, there's somebody who wrote something about Blended, and I was like, well, my intentions weren't that. In a very straightforward way, I was like, I tried to make something that wasn't typical. I wanted to make two people falling in love over parenthood. And then the guy wrote back like, I forgot that directors are human beings.
Oh, wow.
It was such a great feeling. I was
nice.
because I'm like, I felt really bad because Blended, by the way, people love that movie. Kids love that movie. And it was one of the few times that the critics, they don't usually bother me, but there's 3 amazing kids in that movie that are more. There's 1, 2, 3, there's 5 kids in the movie. And they loved the movie. They loved making it. And they loved the premiere. And they saw the people laughing and loving the movie. And they couldn't wait for the reviews. And I was thinking, oh, these poor kids are going to get their hearts crushed. And they did. And they were just like, they couldn't believe that the movie got shredded, to pieces. And I think, I don't know what it got on Rotten Tomatoes, but probably like 15 or something. And it's not fair. Like, that movie is not, I don't care what you say, that movie you compare it to a bunch of other movies that got higher ratings, it delivered on what it was supposed to do. And so it bugs me when like people that are critics are just so easy to be like, fuck that, this movie's predictable and this is that and that, that kind of thing. But even the great critics do it. If Siskel and Ebert is really funny. If you go back to the Waterboy interview that might be online, Ebert was like, he kind of gave it like this movie was not great and it was sophomore, blah, blah. And then Siskel goes, I can't believe you. And I go, oh my God, he's gonna like the movie? He goes, how did you even watch it? And I thought, well, that just says exactly what's wrong. Like, you can't say that. You can't go in that biased.
Wow.
So it's not always fair. But for me, what matters is how people feel. And the ultimate validation for me is my movies are on TV for 20 years, and they run over and over and over. And I can't say that about a lot of the other movies that came out those years. So that what and in the long run, that's what matters. I'm like, I don't know. I can't guarantee a movie's gonna get reviewed well. I can't even guarantee it's gonna, make a lot of money. I just know I'm gonna make a movie that's gonna be emotionally honest. It's gonna be a story that I think is important, and it will probably have a shelf life. It's a Wonderful Life was the reason I wanted to make movies, and my parents were, they're in their 80s, so they were like, oh my God, that movie bombed when it came out because it was depressing. It came out after the war. And then I was like, oh my God, this is like the classic of all classics. And I was like, I always go to that like, oh good, the movies don't have to do well when they come out, they have to do well over time. And that's the true test.